We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hi, and welcome to the Book Beat, where we feature authors talking about their latest books and guest experts in the world of writing and publishing. And more than that, what we want you to do is find a good book to read this week. And if you can't find one, seriously think, as our guests have done today, about writing that book yourself. So I'm Noel Bassior, and I have two fabulous guests today. We have Esther van der Werf with us, and she's the author of two books, Read Without Glasses at Any Age, The Natural Method to Near Vision Clarity. That's her latest book. And she also wrote Bates Method Nuggets, The Fundamentals of Natural Vision Improvement. And this is all about the Bates system of eye improvement, which is really something fascinating. If you haven't heard about this, and if your vision is not 20/20, you're going to be really fascinated by what Esther has to say. And we have Kathy Groover. She'll be joining us in the next segment. And her latest book is Conquer Your Stress with Mind-Body Techniques. And she is also the author of The Alternative Medicine Cabinet. So let's start out with Esther here, who grew up in the Netherlands, which is Holland, right? And Esther van der Werf there enjoyed excellent eyesight until her late teens, when her vision changed to slightly myopic. So she went to the optometrist and she got a prescription for glasses, which she did not particularly like. And I really love what you say about glasses, because I felt exactly the same way. You felt that they kind of separate you from the world, right? So like you felt more like an observer than a participant.
That's right, I
Yeah,
did.
that's exactly what I felt about glasses, too. So she cunningly lost them to the great dismay of her parents. Clever. That was way to go. So you had glasses for 16 years, and
No,
then
I did not. I had them for a few months.
For a few months.
But I had blurry vision for 16 years.
Oh, okay. So you just kind of...
I just
You never-
lived in the blurry world without the glasses.
You never found those glasses again.
No.
And so how did you discover the Bates system, and tell us what the Bates system is, but what happened? You found a book, right?
First, I read a newspaper article about the Bates system, and that recommended a book. And I bought the book, tried the exercises that it was giving me in there, and I think I misunderstood it, but whatever, I didn't do very well with that at all.
This was the Tom Quackenbush book, right?
No, this is a book before that.
Oh, before that?
This is in my 20s.
Oh, okay.
And then several years later, in my 30s, I found Tom's book, Relearning to See. And by then, of course, I was skeptical because I failed with the first book. So I was like, is this really going to work? And that's a silly question to ask an author.
Yeah.
But Tom said, well, you either read my book or you come to my class, you'll find out. I ended up choosing just to buy the book, not to do the class. And months later, I actually got around to reading the book. And to my surprise, it said that it was all about relaxing the eyes. It was not about eye exercises. And so for a few weeks, I tried everything in the book. And within 2 weeks, I was back to 20/20 vision.
That is amazing. So how do you relax the eyes?
That's the billion-dollar question.
It is. It fascinates me about you, though. See, because some people, and I know this from personal experience, because I've gotten some success from Bates, but you achieved this success in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So you must have done something that I'm not doing, and I know that there may be people out there who have tried the Bates system, but do you have any idea how to describe what you did that actually really did relax your eyes?
I learned to stop staring and start blinking. For me, that made the biggest difference. I was very, very good at staring until that point. and found out that that was a huge strain, according to the book, and my eyes didn't like that. So when I learned to recognize the moments when I fell into that staring habit, and every time I found myself staring and just parking my eyes somewhere, I would catch that and then go back to blinking and letting my eyes move around.
So you were like consciously blinking?
Yes. In the beginning, you have to consciously blink until it becomes a habit again. Now I don't think about it, and I blink more than most everybody else.
So do you think that that was really the key to your success with Bates, with the Bates system?
For me, that was the big key to it, yes.
So let's talk about Dr. Bates, because the other thing that you've done, which we have a lot of authors who listen to the show and people who want to write books. And your first book is pretty amazing because you actually researched Dr. Bates's work. Tell us about Dr. Bates and who he was.
Dr. Bates was an ophthalmologist in New York. He lived about 100 years ago, died in 1931.
And he was an MD, right?
Yes.
An eye surgeon.
Eye surgeon.
Yeah.
Yes. And he found out that some people would improve without the glasses that he prescribed them. And he was wondering why that happened. And from just wondering why to actually researching it and finding out what the cause was and how he could help them create that change. That's something that hardly anybody had thought about. And he was, I think, the pioneer in this field of learning how you can help people improve their eyesight through relaxing the muscles around the eyes.
And he was a real maverick, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah, definitely. A unique man, very special, I think. Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about the Bates system, because I know a lot of times when I tell people about it, they say, oh, it's like eye exercises, and they think they're going to be looking up, looking down to the side, But it's not that, is it?
It's not. No, I always point that out to people because that idea of eye exercises is absolutely wrong. Bates never did eye exercises. What he did teach is how to move the eyes without the strain, whereas eye exercises tends to be eye movement with strain. And learning to do it without the strain is the big key. So the relaxation of the muscles around the eyes allow the eyes to get back to a regular shape and therefore have a clear image again.
Because when those muscles are pressing, when you're tense, are you saying that when you're straining or you're staring or causing tension, what happens to the muscles around the eyes?
Well, any tension on those muscles creates a pressure on the eyeball, and the eyeball can be compared to a rubber ball. And a rubber ball, if you put some pressure on it, it will change shape. Let go of the pressure, the rubber ball comes back to nice and round. And the same happens with the eyes. If you learn to let go of the pressure of those muscles, learn to let them be nice and relaxed the way they're meant to be, then the eyeball comes back to a round shape and the picture improves.
Because when the eyeball is the proper shape, then how does that affect the light that comes in? Isn't that why we want it?
Yeah, it's all about optics.
Yeah.
And, so the way the light comes in through your cornea, which is the outermost layer of the eye, and then through the lens, if those are misshapen through pressure on the eyeball, then the light that comes in doesn't focus correctly on the back of the eye, on the retina.
Becomes diffused or, right?
And that can happen in various ways. Various strains create various blurry forms. So depending on which strain is happening, you need to learn to release that specific strain for your condition. And then clarity comes back.
Right. So I know that it sounds like you're saying that the common belief that if your vision is bad, that you have to get measured for glasses. And now we're not talking about serious eye disease at this point, although I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. But because I know you have worked with eye diseases. But the ordinary person that gets glasses, and then usually you hear like, well, my glasses are too weak, so I went, to the optometrist because, you keep getting stronger and stronger glasses each time you go, right? It's like you kind of wear them out and, So is that the way it should be, or do you think it should be different?
I think it's absolutely not the way it should be. But it does happen that way a lot. If you start wearing glasses, then the glasses create extra strain because glasses have an optical center. If you look straight through the center of the glasses, that's where you're designed to see best. But your eyes move. They don't stay straight ahead all the time. They move. So at some point, they'll look through the edges of the glasses. And there the vision will not be as good. So you're going to end up either trying to squint to see through the edges of the glass, or to try and keep your eyes in that center and start moving your head unnaturally. And either way is more strain for your eyes. That's not the way they naturally move. It's not the way they naturally see. So the glasses add strain and therefore cause blurry vision down the line, and therefore the need for stronger glasses over time.
But with the Bates system, they're kind of saying it doesn't have to be like that, right?
No, exactly. If you avoid the glasses in the first place, or go back to a lower prescription if necessary, but if you avoid them in the first place, then chances are very good that you can get back to clarity in a short period of time.
Which is what you did, avoiding them for 16 years and
Yes.
then suddenly. But I am fascinated by how you suddenly did this in 2 weeks, because not everybody does it in 2 weeks. So
No.
besides the blinking, was there anything else that you think you did to allow, a better word than make, to allow the Bates system to work for you?
I think it's a mental shift that I made. Instead of trying to see and always making an effort to see better because it was always blurry, I stopped that effort. I stopped trying. I became more friends with the blurry vision that I had and allowed it to just be there without fighting it on any level. And as I allowed it to be there and didn't fight in any way against it, it started to release. And the more that you can allow your blurry vision to just be there without fighting it, the sooner it disappears.
Because you're not stressing or tensing?
Yeah, that mental strain is gone. And so the mental strain is usually the start of the physical strain of the squinting and all the effort that we make to see. So if you can let that go and be okay with your blurry vision for a moment and say, okay, so this blurry vision is trying to tell me something about my eyesight. If you can do that and sit with it and listen to that message that the blurry vision's been trying to give you, then things can change.
Is there an exercise that people could do who are just hearing this program and want to try something, easy at home, kind of?
The very easy one?
Yeah.
The most popular one is called palming. And that's one where you close your eyes and you cover them with the palms of your hands. So basically the center of the palm will go over the center of the eyes. You do both eyes. You close your eyes underneath there. Make sure most of the light is excluded. And you allow your eyes to rest like that. And in the time that you're doing this and you're keeping your eyes closed, the darkness is a rest for your eyes. But also the fact that there is absolutely nothing to see is like a message for the brain going back to the muscles, saying there's absolutely nothing for those muscles to do at the moment. This is a perfect time for relaxation. So the darkness, the fact that your hands are covering your eyes, so even if you were to open your eyes, it's still dark, still nothing to see. So it's a perfect time for relaxation, and allowing yourself to just sit there 5 minutes, 10 minutes, longer, will get that level of relaxation to deepen. And the deeper it goes, and the more that you can then keep that relaxation afterwards, the better you'll see.
Now, is this cumulative? Like if you palm for a few minutes every day, will the eyes kind of learn to relax or remember that feeling, sort of?
I think so, yes. If you get very comfortable with palming, you do it a lot, then at some point, even just the thought of palming will help you relax.
So the eyes will just remember what it feels like when you palm, and
Yes.
from that thought, just pick it up.
Pick it up and get back to that level of relaxation.
Now, when you sent me some of your materials, because I know your story pretty well, but I remember when you had a tragedy in your family, your niece passed away.
Yes.
And I remember when that happened a few years ago, but I didn't realize that that had an effect on your vision, right?
It did.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, basically, I think the stress from watching my niece get ill, be in hospital for 8 months, she had leukemia, and the worry about it all, and talking to my parents every day, getting the news from my sister on how she was doing, and all the chemotherapy she was going through. The stress was incredible. And I found that as the months went by and the hope of her getting better was reducing and reducing, I just put that stress in my eyes, which most vision teachers probably do, because we all come to this profession because we cured our own eyesight, which
Right.
means we all had a tendency to put stress in our eyes.
That's true.
So-
Did you panic when that happened? Because like, oh my God, I'm a Bates eye teacher. Here's my vision kind of going. Like
It wasn't panic. It was definitely a little worrying, but it wasn't
Yeah.
panic. I just knew that it was the stress, but I also knew there was very little I could do about it at that time. I just had to go with it and say, okay, when this is all done, I'll take care of myself. But right now, I could barely concentrate. I could barely read. Everything, even at arm's length, was getting so blurry I could barely read.
so it was starting to affect your
It was affecting my near vision,
near
which is
vision.
opposite from what it had done before.
right.
So it was an interesting self-study that went on.
Well, yeah, that was interesting because I read what you did. Tell us what you did to heal yourself.
Well, after she finally, unfortunately, died, and I got home and kind of relaxed for a month or so, I realized it was time to really take care of my own vision. I then ended up doing a palming session, and I gave myself a whole day. I said, okay, however long it takes, I'm going to just sit today, switch off the phone, put on some good music, and I'll just palm until I feel better. And I ended up doing 6 hours of palming that day.
Wow.
It's my longest session. I've never done that long.
And what happened?
Well, the first 3 hours were crying, a box of tissues next to me, working through emotions, basically. And after about 3 hours, I calmed down. It seemed like I ran out of tears and just felt better and better, and the calmness just came back. And I ended up doing a total of 6 hours, and at that point, I felt so good, so relaxed, so I've let go of everything. And so I then ended the palming session and found it made a huge difference, and that reading was so much easier again. It wasn't totally clear yet, but it was here at arm's length. Everything was totally clear. It's just the nearer point still needed a bit of work, but it made a huge difference.
So basically, that kind of allowed you to turn the corner and really
Yes.
did start to heal your eyes,
Yes.
right? Because when I read that, palming seems like such a small thing, but the fact that you really started to reverse that situation was very impressive with all,
Yeah.
turning to palming for that.
I think palming is the best thing. I spoke to a colleague this weekend. She had a retinal tear. She just had a diagnosis of terminal cancer for her father and has been under stress for that reason, and found that in her right eye suddenly there was a blurry patch, and it turned out it was a retinal tear. She went to an ophthalmologist to have it checked. And the ophthalmologist, of course, said, we should laser this right now. And she, being a Bates teacher, said, not today. Let's wait a few days. And she called me and said, what would you do? And I said, I would palm for as long as it took. And I'd probably go out in nature and take a walk and just be in fresh air, be in sunlight, and just relax this weekend. And she did that, and she let me know this morning that she went back to the ophthalmologist this morning, who could no longer find the tear.
Really? How interesting.
So
Wow.
palming is just amazing. This weekend she did 2 sessions of, I think, 5 hours and 4 hours
Wow.
to help herself. She went out walking on the beach, and palming, it can be an amazing thing for your eyes.
So, and I know that this does work. I used to wear contacts, and then when I did the Bates system, I was able to see 20/20 in good light without my contacts eventually, studying with you and another teacher. And but night vision, are there any special challenges with night vision, or is it just kind of all the same thing?
I think night vision is usually the last to clear up, because your daytime vision can already be fairly good, because in sunlight your pupils narrow down. At night they don't do that. The pupils stay larger, so any amount of blurry vision you have, even if it's just slightly, seems to be magnified at night. And so at night it's the last thing to clear up. You have to get back to 2015 vision in the daytime for the nighttime to be 2020.
But it's basically the same principles, right?
Yes. Yes.
So let's talk about your books, because, for authors listening or people who want to write a book, it was really fascinating. I watched Esther as she prepared to write her first book, and you had researched Dr. Bates's papers, right?
Yes.
Which were public domain, right? They were in public
They are.
domain. Yeah. So you gathered, what did you do? Like, tell us how you put the first book together.
That was quite a project, a 7-month project of
Yeah.
going through the Better Eyesight magazines. Dr. Bates, for about 11 years, published a monthly magazine called
This was
Better Eyesight.
Better Eyesight back in the 20s, right?
1920s, yeah. All the way till 1931 was the last issue. And so there's 11 years of monthly magazines, and they were published or kind of photocopied from, I believe, the Library of Congress collection that was still there. And I had those photocopies on my computer. But of course, being photos, they're hard to read and you can't search through them very
Right.
easily. So I put them through an optical character reader, made them into word text, went through all this word text, took out all the mistakes that the optical character reader had made. And it basically took me 7 months to go through the whole series and make it into a regular Word document.
But what are, you distilled, I think, the best of Bates in this book so that
Yeah.
it's very easy, very simple. What are some of the issues that you cover in that book?
Well, basically, in one of the magazines, Bates wrote that for the people that subscribed, he heard that some of them would throw the magazine away afterwards. He didn't like that. And he said, well, if at least from every magazine you should keep page 2. And I thought, wonder why he says that. So I went looking at these page 2s, and they all had the practical tip of the month type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, this is great. So I looked at all these page 2s, spread them out over the floor in my apartment, and sorted them by topic. And as I sorted them by topic, they sort of became little chapters of their own.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that time I showed it to you.
Yeah, I remember
and,
that.
and I said, look what I've got. This is fantastic material.
Yeah.
And you said, that should be a book.
Did I say that? Oh,
Yes, it
well,
was
it
you.
was a good idea. And it does seem to distill the essence of it. So if you're
Yes.
new to the Bates system from this book, self-published, which is, really was the way for you to go, because
Yes,
you didn't
it's
have
a niche
to.
market.
Yeah, it's a niche market. What's actually it could be
Yeah.
a huge market.
It could be huge,
Right.
but the amount of people that know about the Bates method and are interested enough to really want to know the original writings from Dr. Bates.
So why don't people know about this? If this really works the way we're saying it,
Yes.
why don't people know about this?
I think it's mostly because eye doctors don't know about it. They will have heard about it in their training, but they've usually been told, don't waste your time on this. This is not, it's not working. It's quackery. Don't bother putting any time and effort into the Bates method.
Plus, it would put them out of business unless they became Bates teachers or just kept, a niche business for people who needed glasses for some reason, right?
Right. Well, the optical, the School for Optometry and Ophthalmology, they're very much into the medical system, giving glasses, doing surgeries, and all that. And this is a very different system that basically wants to move away from that. And so, as an eye doctor, if you want to move in and become an ophthalmologist or an optometrist, then this seems to be a bit of a waste of time because it's taking you off track.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you get told too. I remember one optometrist friend telling me that in his years in school, the dean of the school came one day and had a special talk for everybody, talking about things like the Bates method and how they shouldn't waste their time doing that.
Quackery charlatans.
Yes, unfortunately.
Mm.
So they get discouraged from even looking into it.
Mm-hmm.
And the few that do love it, I know several optometrists and ophthalmologists who enjoy teaching the Bates method and using it as an extra in their work. But most of them don't even bother learning. So
Right.
that's a shame.
Well, and some are open because one of them actually wrote the foreword to your second book, right?
That's right,
Is that
yes.
Gottlieb that did that?
Yeah, Dr. Ray Gottlieb.
Yeah. So let's talk about the second book, your book that's just out. And this is especially for people who feel like they're getting too farsighted and can't need reading glasses, right?
Exactly.
And so this is a big shock that you maybe don't really need reading glasses, right?
Well, Dr. Bates himself used reading glasses
Did
for
he?
some time, which
Oh,
is
wow.
very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Until one day a friend of his says, well, I don't get this. He says, you shout about how people should take their glasses off and not ever use them, but you use glasses yourself.
Huh.
But Bates at that time thought that his method worked basically for myopia, for nearsightedness, but not for presbyopia. But he did feel the truth of those words from his friend, and he was like, I really should do something about this. So he went and started to ask around to see if anybody knew how to cure presbyopia. And he went to one of his famous colleagues and said, who should I go see? And that doctor said, well, come back in a week and I'll see if I can find anybody. And he went back in a week, and that doctor says, well, there's only one person that might know anything about it, and that's you.
Darn. I hate when that happens.
Yes. So he was basically thrown back on his own resources, as he said, and started studying it himself. Was helped by a friend of his that he taught that man to use a retinoscope. This wasn't an eye doctor, but it was a priest of some sort. And he taught that man to use a retinoscope and to check Bates's own eyes as he was trying to focus up close. And so he found that as he tried to focus up close, he actually was focusing for distant. And he had to figure out how to get it back to the close vision.
And it was the same principle, right? It was like his eyes were not relaxed.
That's right.
Is that what he eventually came to?
Yes, he found that he was straining to see up close, and if he used his imagination and imagined that he was looking at something like in smaller detail, he used the picture of the Rock of Gibraltar, which had some black gaps in it that he pretended were caves, and there were these tiny people walking into the caves. And as he used his imagination going for smaller and smaller detail, his eyes began to focus. And so he realized that, okay, there is a change that's possible, and it's just all in my mind.
I think it is all in the mind, because that's one thing that I've noticed working with Bates, is that imagination and what you close your eyes and visualize, for me at least, has been really important. Like if I look at a letter or a sign and, like you said, allow it to be blurry, but then close my eyes, and I know Dr. Bates said, imagine it or imagine the letters, or if I do that, I open my eyes and it is clear again.
Yes.
So it's really remarkable.
Yeah.
So we have a few more minutes, but let's make sure we get in how people can get in touch with you.
I have a website, visionsofjoy.org or .com. They both go to the same place, Visions of Joy. And I live in Ojai, California. And you can email me and phone me and contact me through the website. That's the easiest way.
And you give private lessons, right?
I do.
Okay.
I give private lessons. I do seminars at conferences. I've just got back from Italy, where I was teaching at the International Holistic Vision Conference. So I do workshops for teachers too, but for individuals, sometimes I do group classes. I even have an email course for people that can't come to me, or help people through Skype.
And they can learn through email, actually, through the...
That was a surprise for me. The first person that I helped that way was somebody who was deaf and lived on the East Coast. And I was like, oh, how am I going to teach this man? And he really wanted me to teach him, because he'd been to a class where there was a sign language interpreter that helped him understand what I was saying. And somehow on his way home, he had lost his glasses or broke them or something. And then he wrote to me saying, please teach me. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? And so because of him being deaf and being so far away from me, I ended up writing it down. Wow. And that was 6-7 years ago. And since then, that email course has developed and grown, and it's been helping quite a few people.
That's really amazing. And I know you have worked with eye diseases as well, right?
A little bit.
Bit.
I think the Bates method works best for the functional problems,
right.
The nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, presbyopia, strabismus, the problems that are pure muscle problems. That's where it works best.
It's best, yeah.
Yet the eye diseases, they also need the muscles to be relaxed, because relaxed muscles around the eyes give a better shape, therefore more circulation of blood, and therefore better chance of healing. So it's certainly worth doing the Bates method, no matter what's wrong with your eyes. That's my opinion.
Yes, and I know you've had a bit of success with that as well. So how can people get the books?
Again, through my website and through Amazon.com.
They're on Amazon.
They're on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah. And say your website one more time.
Visionsofjoy.org.
Thank you, Esther Vanderwerf.
Thank you,
It's
Suzanne.
been wonderful having you on the show. So when you're not feeling well, how do you know when to try alternative treatments or when to seek medical help? And are there really alternative treatments that work? Our next guest, Kathy Groover, has all the answers. Stay tuned. This is the Book Beat here at latalklive.com.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Hey everyone, this is Richard Carr, Business Relations Manager for LA Talk Live. Did you know social media produces almost double the marketing leads of trade shows, telemarketing, direct mail, or even pay-per-click ads? And that about 46% of all online users count on social media when making that ever-important purchase decision. Hey, if you feel lost when it comes to social media, Top Tier Media can help you. Top Tier Media specializes in social media management and blogger outreach for beauty, fashion, health, and lifestyle brands. To learn more, go to www.toptiermedia.com. That's www.toptiermedia.com. Top Tier Media, the official social media marketing company of LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, and welcome back to the Book Beat. I'm Jean Noel Bassior, and we have with us Kathy Groover. She is an award-winning author, natural health speaker, educator, practitioner, and she earned her PhD in natural health and has authored 2 books on stress. The latest is Conquer Your Stress with Mind-Body Techniques. And she also wrote the Alternative Medicine Cabinet, which won the Beverly Hills Book Award, right, in 2013. Mm-hmm. And you studied at the famed Benson Henry Institute for Mind-Body Medicine. This is at Harvard Medical School.
Yes.
It's very impressive. And you've been featured in Ladies' Home Journal, Massage Magazine, Yahoo.com, and appeared as a guest expert on over 150 radio and TV shows. Been featured on NPR, CBS, Lifetime Television. So you must have something that people want to know. So talking about stress, mm-hmm. which is, I know, the subject of your latest book. And actually, I saw a YouTube interview that you did, and you're talking about it's not so much the stress that does you in, but how you react to the stress, right? Is that sort of
right? Exactly, because we can't control the stress. We can't control the traffic. We can't control the government. We can't control healthcare. What we can control is our reaction to it. Mm-hmm. So rather than us trying to change these external things, it's a better choice to actually make an effort to change our reaction. It gives us a little more control, and then even though the stress is still there, it doesn't affect us as much and doesn't seem as bad. So it's that stress response that is something we really want to take charge of.
Right. But to control the stress, you have to control your thoughts, right? Is that the key?
Yes, that is the key. And it's estimated we have about 60,000 thoughts a day.
Wow.
And that 50,000 of those are negative.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot to control.
That's a lot to control. And so when people say, oh, well, that's simple, just stop thinking them. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but I can't just stop thinking things. It's the whole, don't think of an elephant. Oh, whoops, okay, we're all thinking of an elephant. Mm-hmm. So rather than trying to not think of an elephant, let's think of a camel. So now we're thinking about something completely different. And what I like about that is that's to me where affirmations come in, is you change those thoughts to something positive, those words that we choose. And then that way you're eliminating that negative thought and you're programming yourself with positive talk, which is extraordinarily beneficial to us.
Well, I know a lot of people say that affirmations, I should say maybe some people say affirmations don't work. So when you're repeating the positive thought, like, look at that camel over there, isn't it beautiful? You have to really believe that there's a camel over there and it's beautiful, right? I mean, you can't be going like, well, that's really an elephant and it looks like a camel. I know it is. And, you know, what's the secret to really doing an affirmation so that it works?
Yeah, there's a couple steps. You want to make it positive, and you want to put it in the present. And you want to make it short, so it's something you can repeat all the time. And one of my favorites, and I have so many friends on Facebook, and now we're getting into cold and flu season, so they're talking about, oh, I feel like I'm getting sick. I hope I'm not getting sick. Oh, I'm getting sick. And I always write in, why don't you change that to, I am healthy and well? And they always respond with a little smiley face, and I don't know if they're making fun of me or if they're truly going to go home and do that affirmation. But studies show we can actually improve and boost our immune system by saying something like, I am healthy and well. My immune system is strong and resilient. So during those times where we're starting to have that stress about getting ill, rather than being worried that we're going to get sick, changing that to something positive, it changes our physiology. And it's about repetition. Mm-hmm. So you want to say that as many times as you can, over and over and over again. And it's that whole fake it till you make it thing. You know, even if you don't believe the first 5 times, by the 15th, you start to go, yeah, you know, I am healthy and well. And I post an affirmation every day on my Facebook page, and I get so much positive feedback. And one gentleman wrote to me and said that he writes it down and carries it with him all day so that he can repeat it. And that was just so awesome to me to know that people are taking what I'm suggesting and using it, and it's helping them in their lives. That's huge to me.
So, well, tell us then about your approach to stress, because we hear about stress all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I see, you know, affirmation is important, positive thinking and controlling your thoughts. What else in this book do you feel is like unique that you've discovered that will really help us? Yeah,
the 3 big things I talk about is the affirmations, which we already covered. Visualization, it to me is one of the most important things we can do, because we also daydream all day long. And I'm sure all of us have had that experience where we suddenly come to on the freeway and we go, did I pass where am I? And we don't know if we've passed the exit. We don't know if we've not gotten there yet. And we do have this moment of, I was someplace else. Where have I gone? Mm-hmm. So during those times of daydreaming, that's when we can also program our thoughts again. And to me, visualization is huge. And I've been visualizing since I was 15. I've stopped colds. I've stopped flu. I had, of all things, a flying trapeze accident where I really, really messed up my foot. And I was told not to walk on it for 10 days. And I was doing a dance show 10 days later.
Wow.
Because of the visualization and, you know, things like arnica and acupuncture and Reiki and massage. And, you know, you have to add those mind techniques into the body techniques as well. And sometimes we need Western medicine. I needed to be stitched up after that. So I went to the doctor and he fixed me.
Well, and that was one of the questions I want to ask you. I mean, hate when those flying trapeze accidents happen. It's just horrible. But when they do.
Right.
So how do you know when to actually seek a diagnosis? Mm-hmm. Because I had a friend who passed away recently who didn't, you know, in time. But how do you know? How do you find that line?
Yeah, everybody has their own view on that. You know, I have some clients who wouldn't dream of seeing an alternative medicine practitioner because they think it's all out there and woo-woo and airy-fairy, and they listen completely, you know, without hesitation to every single thing their doctor says. And then there's the flip side of that. People who, you know, I have clients with cancer who don't want to go get a re-diagnosis. And to me, that's really dangerous. And that's where I like the term complementary alternative medicine. Because to me, it's a toolbox. You have to combine those two and take the best from each thing. Just like, you know, if you're going shopping for a party, you can't always get everything at one store. You need to go maybe to the grocery store to get the food, the party store to get this, the paper store to get the invites. You know, you pull from all the resources you need. And I think, you know, especially with trauma medicine, you know, I was not about to go home and just do Reiki on my foot and not get it stitched up or have my dislocated toe put back. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to be logical about this. And one of the things I absolutely love about Western medicine is their diagnostics. You know, you can't beat that.
Right. It is. Yeah, that can be very valuable, right? When you're really kind of stumped, you know, and you've scared yourself with everything on the web.
Right.
And you might want to go like, well, what is maybe really going on here, right?
Right.
So then when you get the diagnosis, though, then you can perhaps seek an alternative way of healing?
To me, that's the first step. If it's something that's not truly immediately life-threatening, if it's something that you've got a week or two before there has to be some action. Look into what else it could be. I had clients headed for surgery, and after a massage, the problem was gone. Or people who went through, multiple very invasive tests to find out it was a psoas muscle that was tight, and the multiple doctors completely overlooked that muscle that runs from the back to the front.
So they could have ended up with back surgery, right?
They could have ended up with back surgery, and at the very least, they went through 5 or 6 different procedures, whether it was gynecological or MRIs and CAT scans and ultrasounds, trying to figure out what was causing this abdominal pain. And it turned out to be something that a massage therapist fixed. They hate hearing that because it sort of undermines what they're trying to do. And I totally get that. I love working very closely with physicians. So you have to be, you have to use your head and be logical about that. There are some things that alternative medicine is fabulous for. If you just had a gunshot, please do not come to me for a homeopathic. I'm going to send you straight to the ER. So you just have to be smart and listen to your gut about that. And I think we've gotten away from listening to our bodies. We can describe what's happening to our cars better than we can describe what's happening to our bodies. And I think we have to get back to focused thought so that we know what's happening inside ourselves.
Right. Well, what are some of the warning signs that we should pay attention to of stress? Let's start with that.
Oh, yeah, there's so many. Let's talk about road rage. I've never seen so many people angry, and I think they're having trouble controlling things in their lives. So what they can control is, I am not letting you on the freeway. They are keeping the people around them in this very heightened state of agitation because they're stressed themselves. Overeating, overindulgence in drugs and alcohol, headaches, jaw tension. They see right now that about 70 to 80% of our doctor's visits are from stress-related illness. That's a lot of doctor's visits. So everything from irritable bowel syndrome, PMS, cancer, heart disease, ulcers, digestive problems, not sleeping well, irritation with your friends and family. It covers the gamut of things. And I think stress is inundating all of us right now. And it's just a matter of how we're handling it.
Well, a lot of times, I think people go to a doctor and get a pill, right? Get a tranquilizer, get something to calm them down, right?
And, and there are times that you need that. If you're in full-blown panic attack and that's something that you've had a chronic issue with, it's probably going to be harder for you to sit down and do a mini meditation. You might need chemical help in the short term to get you to a place where you can actually use these other tools. So to me, again, this is an additional thing. I think the mind-body medicine is going to be the medicine of the future. And I see, when you can study it at Harvard and University of San Francisco and Stanford, when they're looking into this type of stuff, this is going to be more on the forefront. We're going to see a lot of doctors hopefully incorporating things like stress reduction and mindfulness. Lots of talk about mindfulness right now. And if we have time at some point, I'd love to teach you a mini meditation.
Oh, let's
that's
do that.
One of my favorite things.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's give people something that they can really use
Absolutely.
today.
So other than the affirmations, which is, keeping I am at peace, I am healthy and well, my immune system is strong. What I like about the mini meditations is I'm not a meditator. I am very type A. I'm from the East Coast originally. I talk fast. I walk fast. So if you tell me to sit on a pillow and still my brain and quiet my body, I actually find that very stressful. I don't want to lay by a pool and relax. I want to do flying trapeze and dance class. So when I was at Harvard studying with Herbert Benson and they said, okay, today we're going to meditate, I thought, oh no, I'm so bad at this. But they said there was only 2 rules of this meditation. The first rule is concentrate on something repetitive. And the second rule is when thoughts float through, dismiss them without judgment. And I thought, wow, I can do that. I'm ready to write down, you sit a certain way and you put your tongue on the roof of your mouth. All these things with traditional, very formal meditation. And for people who do that, that's awesome. I'm not quite there yet. But this is great for those people who don't have time or don't think they can meditate. So what we'll concentrate on as the repetitive focus is going to be our breath. So we're going to pay attention to our inhale and our exhale. We're not trying to change it. We're not trying to slow it down or speed it up, just using that as a focal point. And then on your inhales, you're going to think, I am. And on all of the inhales, we're going to think, I am. And then on our exhale, we're going to think, at peace. And on all of the exhales, we're going to think, at peace. So that leaves us with concentrating on our breath. Inhale, I am. Exhale, at peace. And if thoughts float through, dismiss them without judgment. They just float away like clouds on a summer day, and we return to, I am at peace. And what this does is it stops that fight or flight response, that very classic stress response that we learned about in 7th grade biology. It slows our heart rate and our respiratory rate. It lowers our blood pressure. It readies our brain for higher functioning, because when we're in the midst of stress, we know we get cloudy thinking and our memory goes, and we're not focused to take an exam.
So you're sort of stopping things. And for you, this kind of worked because it wasn't like, well, make your mind a blank slate.
Right.
It was like something active you could do, like thinking of those words, right?
Exactly. And you can do this while walking. You can do this while, it doesn't have to be sitting somewhere, closing your eyes and taking that time. Now, you can certainly do that. And I do this now, when I was waiting to come on the air with you, I was doing mini meditations because it gets you ready to not perform, but perform in the broad sense of the word, whether it's a sports activity or when I sit down to write. I take that time to focus myself, pull myself back into the present, which is so important because, the stress isn't right here. The stress is out there someplace. It's either behind us that we're thinking about, or it's in front of us that we're worried that may or may not happen.
Right. Well, it gets rid of the negative or fear thoughts, right? Like,
Yes.
how am I going to do on this interview? What if I, all that? But if you just allow the mind to rest, right? Is that what it kind of...
Exactly. And it does. Anytime we focus on our breath, it pulls us back into the present moment.
Yeah, that's
and when I was just studying recently with Thich Nhat Hanh, he was there with a lot of the brothers and the sisters from the monastery. And one of the sisters was talking about one of her clients who had come to her, and she was going to have a really, really horrible test result in about a week. And this poor woman was driving herself crazy, worried about what this test result was going to be. And the nun said, and this was the most wise thing to me, she said, "Why are you suffering twice?" And I just thought, oh my God, that is just so powerful because it's true. I was so worried about the traffic getting here today. I suffered for about an hour wondering if I was going to be able to get through.
Yeah.
Why did I do that? Either I was or I wasn't.
Well, and I sent you 56 emails about, Obama's coming to the area, and we got to get there 6 hours early.
Right.
And,
I texted him and said, wait for me, and he was fine with that. So, but no,
good.
I did. I was, stressing myself. I got to leave early, and I got to, and I didn't need to do that. Either there was going to be traffic or there wasn't, and I actually turned out, I got here an hour and a half early. And so what I did is I sat in the car and I relaxed and I meditated and I caught up on work, and I took that, I didn't go, oh, I'm here early. I took that time to relax. And it's those moments we have to take. And that's where I love the mini meditations and the affirmations, the visualization. There's an unlimited amount of techniques that you can do that work for you. And that's what I love about this book is it's like a buffet. If one thing doesn't ring true for you, there's 42 other things you can try.
So what kind of things, is it mainly sort of visualization, or do you give physical kind of...
There's a section on massage, there's a section on Reiki, homeopathics, acupuncture, something called BEST, which is an energy system. I talk about sound healing, color healing, chakra therapy, past life regression. That's why I say there's something for everybody. And my mother-in-law read the book. She's one of my biggest fans. She dog-eared it and tagged it. And she said, I didn't like that past life thing because it's not a belief of hers. And I said, well, okay, you don't have to do it.
Right.
don't do that section.
Yeah. Focus on eating fewer GMOs or something.
Yes. Don't
You
get me
do deal with GMOs. Huh?
I do deal a lot with GMOs. Yeah, I've been expert all over the place about GMOs. Very anti-GMO. Yeah.
Right. And so can we really avoid them? Or because they're not always labeled, right? So
Well, GMOs don't have to be labeled at all. And unfortunately, California lost the battle. Washington State just lost the battle. We're making progress because now what we're seeing companies do is label no GMOs. So we'll work it out, even if it's through the back door. But if you know the common crops, which are corn, soy, and cotton, and you avoid that type of packaged and processed foods, high fructose corn syrup, soy proteins, all those fake meat products that people eat when they decide on a Wednesday they want to be vegetarian out of the clear blue.
Unless it does say that. That's actually a really good tip because there are some companies that do make soy products that say non-GMO, right?
Or it'll say organic. If it's organic, theoretically, it shouldn't be GMO. So you can avoid it. You just have to do a little of your own investigation work on that.
So when you think, I know that words are very important, right? Like not to say it's killing me or that.
Right.
Just do we, through language, what effect does language have really on our body? I mean, once I interviewed Deepak Chopra and he told me for every single thought, there's a neurochemical released, right?
Well, and he's a fabulous example because he's done so much with getting mindfulness and the mind-body connection out into the mainstream media and mainstream reading, which I so appreciate because he's setting the stage for now what I can continue doing.
Right.
he's correct. Every thought we have produces this reaction in the brain, and it grows exponentially. So if we're thinking these 5,000 negative thoughts a day, we're forming those trains in our brain to think more negative thoughts. So again, changing those to positive is great. But what I've seen for me with the words and things we say is, my hands are full. I can't get a grip. I can't stomach this. My heart is breaking. My heart is open. I feel like I'm being stabbed in the back. And I think I came up with about 135 of those phrases. This is what we say. And I found that gave me a huge hint into the emotions that people were stuffing, and it was coming out physically in their body. So not to say that they shouldn't get the massage, go to the chiropractor, stretch, and do those physical things. But I've had the very first client that alerted me to this was having pain in her hands that just wouldn't quite totally go away. And when we discovered this underlying emotional thing of her not wanting to let her kids go, when
she was like clenching.
She was holding on too tightly. When we finally discovered that, and she talked to her family and her own kids about why she didn't want to let them go, that was the final part of her healing, and she didn't need the weekly massage anymore. That's how I want to lose clients, with that full and total healing, and then she passes that along to everybody else.
Huh. Well, you have like a how to stay sick list and a how to stay healthy list in the book, right? Okay, what's on the how to stay sick list?
Don't laugh. It's for idiots. Complain about your life at every chance you get. Eat really bad food. Don't go to the bathroom enough. Don't sleep. Relive the past. Make sure you stay around the most negative people you can find, because that's a good one. Don't exercise. That's just a waste of time. So, that actually came out of a lecture I had done. I did a whole hour lecture on how to be sick and miserable in order to let people know, hey, we're actually all doing this. We might want to change that, which then led, and I had put that in my first book, and a friend said, I'm really depressed now. You should maybe put a how to stay well list after that. And I went, okay. So I added that too. So it's the opposite of that. It's eat good food, respect yourself. That was actually my affirmation on Facebook today was, I respect myself. And by doing that, we want to take care of our bodies and eat good things and be kind to the people around us. That's showing ourselves respect. So it all comes down to just treating ourselves at least as good as we would treat the people around us.
Well, so when you talk about it, it sounds wonderful. And obviously you are a living example of this and really immersed in it. But my question to you as a journalist who's done like a lot of articles on stress reduction, and then I would go like this celebrity and go like, find the guru that they were studying with and, do that as the expert for the, story in woman's world or whatever. So, but people still get stuck. It's kind of like we sort of know what we should do. So what would you say to people who just go like, I know what I should do. I know what the stay sick list is, and I know I should be doing positive affirmations, but really, I have to tell you, I really don't have time to go to the gym. So how do you deal with the person? How do you break that cycle?
You have to take baby steps. And one of the things, and I actually just I have this conversation with everybody because they show back at my office still in pain. I say, did you do the stretches I gave you? No, I know. I should be doing those. And they don't. You have to take that first step and make that choice. And then the other thing is you have to be really gentle and loving with yourselves. You can beat yourself up for not exercising and not stretching, and then it becomes this horrible cycle. And I had a woman just a couple days ago, she said, I don't really love myself. And I said, I'm sorry to hear that. I said, you have kids, right? And she said, yeah, I do. I have 4. And I said, have they done things that you can't stand? She said, oh, yeah. I said, have there been times you just wanted to, and you don't like them? She said, yeah. And I said, but you still love them, right? And she said, yeah. And I said, so you have to at least treat yourself that way. Even if there's times you don't like your own behavior, or you don't like what you're doing, you still love yourself. You have to. I mean, that is so important to it. And when you show yourself love, you start to make those changes. And to me, that's that pivotal thing. And it's going to be slow, and you're going to have setbacks, and there's going to be times you want the ketchup at the restaurant that has high fructose corn syrup in it. Do it and enjoy it. Do the 80-20 thing. 80% of the time, do the best you can. 20% of the time, give yourself a break. I think we're way too strict with ourselves, and it doesn't help.
Well, where I get stuck is like I have all these things that if I paused for like 5 minutes and did some really great exercise or meditation or a number of healing things that I could do. And I am a reconnective healer. So, I do know, a little bit about, the energy and stuff, even if I pause for 5 minutes to do some reconnective healing on myself. But what happens is a lot of the time during the day, I feel hypnotized. And I really can talk myself into thinking I don't have 5 minutes to do something really good for myself.
Right. And then here's something really cool you can do. We can be mindful about anything. And there's times we have tasks that we just have to do. We have to do the dishes, we have to shower, we have to brush our teeth. You can make that a meditation. It doesn't have to be this special time you set aside. You can mindfully do the dishes. And at the end of that 5 minutes of just immersing yourself in how does the water feel and how does that soap smell and are the bubbles making those little rainbows when they pop and what is the sound? And, taking all of your senses and immersing yourself into that activity, the activity is going to get done better. You're going to have darn clean dishes. And you've just meditated for 5 minutes. So you can brush your teeth mindfully. If you're going to scoop the cat box mindfully, maybe don't smell as deeply as you would. But other than that, those daily tasks, we can use that as worship. Not in the religious sense, but we can use those as sacred times to do these things. Whether it's
do them more consciously.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's that mindfulness we're all talking about because we do things so mindlessly. That's how we end up on the exit going, I don't know where I am.
What's the toughest case you ever had in helping somebody who was really stressed out and sort of, helping them turn things around?
Yeah, I had a client. She was an older woman, and she came to me for her neck, and she only wanted to do a half an hour once a week, which from a massage therapist standpoint was someone so bad off. That was a really tough one. And she walked in the door, and she put her purse down. She said, "My neck's been hurting for years. You can't help. Should I go in there and take my clothes off?" And I went, "You can." But you just told me I can't help you. And I worked with her every week for months. And it was so much less about the physical structure of her neck. We did the massage, but it was about she didn't like herself. She didn't understand this whole self-love thing. Her neck only hurt when she was looking back. And that's all she was doing was looking back. She had lost a child and he was born with brain damage. There's this whole dramatic thing that she forced herself to relive every year. She pretty much put it on the calendar. From March to May, I will be miserable. It's no wonder her neck hurt. And teaching her about self-love, at that time I was studying Louise Hay's book for, I think, my master's program. And Louise Hay suggested in every morning, look in the mirror and say, I love and respect myself just the way I am. I love and accept myself just the way I am. And I told her that. She goes, "Oh, pugh. This whole self-love thing. I that stupid hippie crap from the side. I don't get that." And I said, "But you swim a couple times a week, right?" She goes, "Yeah." And I said, "And you like really good food, you eat organic, and you play bridge with your friends, and you love your husband, and you come and see me." And she goes, "Well, yeah, all that's true." And I said, "Okay, that's self-love." Mm-hmm. And she was quiet for the longest time and then went, "Wow, I just learned something from somebody half my age." Wow. Which to me is a huge win. It's like, I don't care how old you are. You can learn from a toddler. You can learn from a cat. You can learn from watching a spider. You don't have to learn from a teacher. Everybody's a teacher. I learned so much from my clients. So she was a tough one. And pretty soon after that session, she stopped booking because I think it got too close. I think it scared her. I don't think she wanted to look at all that. She was happy, unhappy.
Yeah, because you say when she was looking back, you mean literally looking back to the past, right? In her memory?
Yeah.
Not just turning
Well,
her
that
neck.
too.
Yeah.
That's what, I said, when does your neck hurt? She goes, "Oh, every time I look back." And I'm thinking, that's all you're doing is looking back. Mm-hmm. So that's where those phrases come in.
Right.
And if we see what we say over and over again, we can really get a hint of what is happening emotionally, spiritually with us, because it's all connected. We can't have a low BMI and eat organic and avoid GMOs and have, I almost said dirty thoughts, not those kind of dirty thoughts.
Have stories that we constantly tell ourselves.
Exactly.
Right?
Is it an anecdote or is it an identity? And Carolyn Mays talks about our biography becomes our biology, and it's that same thing. Are we reliving it because we want attention for being the abused wife, or are we just using that as, I was abused and blah, 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 blah. Is that to get to another point, or are you is that your name tag? Hi, I'm an abused woman. We can't.
And let me tell you this great story about,
Yeah. Right. And we're carrying, people talk about the horrible divorce from 20 years ago, but that's all they want to talk about. It's like, she's on your back. You're still married to the guy emotionally. So,
it's hard to let go of the stories. Because you're right. They do become our identity. But it seems like, at least with your book, they can make a tiny little inroad into it from a lot of different angles, like a lot of
Exactly.
different paths, right?
Exactly. And I hope so, because that's what I want to do is, it's great that I go and study all this stuff. If I can't teach other people to use it, I might as well sit at home and just bury my head in a book and never talk to anybody. That's why I get in front of people and do this. I want them to learn what's running around my head so they can use it to better themselves.
Fortunately, you are not doing that.
Right.
I mean, sitting at home. So how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, the best way is my website, which is thealternativeMedicineCabinet.com. And there's links to my books, my YouTube channel, my newsletter, lots of free health tips, and lots of good stuff there. So it's thealternativeMedicineCabinet.com.
And it's Kathy Groover, Gruver.
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Mm-hmm.
And do you do coaching? Do you teach classes?
I do. I have a massage practice still in natural health in Santa Barbara, and I do Skype. And with this technology now, you can help everybody everywhere, which is great. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for being with us
Thanks
today.
for having me. Appreciate it.
So thanks for tuning in. And remember, this is the show with homework. And the homework is find a good book that this week that you'd like to read. And if you can't find it, start to seriously think about writing one yourself, just as our guests have here. And self-publishing has become a way that you can actually get your book out into the world. And so that's your homework. See you next week on the Book Beat. And remember, all shows are archived here at LA Talk Live, where we are more than just talk.
Thank you for tuning in to LA Talk Live, reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. Stay tuned.